let's straight away get into the subject, Aurangabad and around Aurangabad. People, when you talk about Aurangabad, people usually talk about the first World Heritage Monuments of India, that is Ajanta and Ellora. But Aurangabad is way more than Ajanta and Ellora. So just give you a timeline of the places of interest that could be there near Aurangabad is actually, let's go 50,000 years back. One of the very interesting geological phenomena happened. Biggest meteorite crater struck in this area, and it formed a crater. It's a crater, right? And so the reason that crater is important because that's in basaltic rock, and it's the biggest basaltic rock crater. And because it is basaltic rock, unlike other craters which are bigger, that for example, Arizona and Botswana, those are bigger than Lonar crater, that's the basaltic rock crater, which is Lonar. It actually, water can actually flow away. But when you have basaltic rock, because it is basaltic rock, it actually, the water does not go anywhere. The only way it can go is up. That is, it gets evaporated. And hence the pH of the pH of the water is very high. It is highly saline water. It's about 11 pH. So when you're talking about 11 pH, your soap is 11 pH. No fish can survive in that level of salinity. And so only certain microorganisms and plants survive in that. And NASA many times comes to see how the life cycle works in such hostile environment. So that's one of the interesting things. That is a geological attraction, which is 50,000 years back. But then Ajanta Ellora, of course, Ajanta 2nd century BC, 6th century AD, and it's the first ever World Heritage Monument of India, and it's more famous for its paintings, as we all know. And as Ajanta ended, Ellora starts somewhere around 6th century AD and ends around 11th century AD. Now, after Ellora ends, one of the interesting places, that is Devagiri Fort. Earlier it was called Devagiri Fort because that was made during the last Hindu dynasty that ruled there. That was being made. And then later on, when Alauddin Khilji came down in south, and he conquered that place and went back with a lot of money and became the Sultan. Now, he was replaced by Tughlaq, and Tughlaq shifted the whole capital from Delhi to this place, which is an amazing story because, you know, really looking at it, you really shouldn't, there is no reason for the whole place to shift here because that area suffers from paucity of water. And still it is done. There are various reasons for that. And then after that, if you look at it, historical perspective, then Bibi Ka Maqbara or mini Taj Mahal is also there, which was made, it is made in the memory of Aurangzeb's wife. Apparently, according to some people, that is made by Aurangzeb's son, Azam Shah, in the memory of his mother. So we have differences on that, but it also is a very interesting monument because when you talk about Ajanta, Taj Mahal, Humayun's tomb, all these places, these are all, and Bibi Ka Maqbara, all of these are your examples of classic examples of Indo-Saracenic architecture, which has dome and arches, keystone arches, which you don't see in ancient India. So that's an interesting place, and don't try to look at it from the perspective of Taj Mahal, because you know when you have less than 2% budget, what do you expect me to do? So look at it from the 2% budget perspective, then you start getting a value of that. Apart from that, there is one jewel that very few people actually go there, and that is a perfect place for the people who are into meditation. It's the midst of a dense protected forest. It's called Pital Khora. Those are again Buddhist caves, more than 2,000 years old. And there are a chaitya which is so small and it can sit about 6 or 8 people, and you get an amazing experience there. Those who are into the experience. Apart from that, there are very few places where you have paintings on the as a style of Ajanta level, and Pital Khora has got few paintings which, interestingly, have got Roman coiffure and Roman hairstyles, etc. So it's an amazing thing. Then you have Aurangabad caves and all these are, which are again Buddhist, timed around 1st century BC to 6th century AD. So these are the historical monuments. But apart from that, you have a lot of religious monuments. So Paitan is one of the most important places, by the way, which is 50 kilometers south of Aurangabad. Now, Paitan becomes important because Romans write about Paitan. that, and especially the Paithani sari, which is one of the most sought after and most expensive. So Romans say that we are losing our gold and silver to the vanities of our women who want that Paithani cloth. So that is also a very interesting part. And so Shirdi, of course, those are one of the probably third most important from the perspective of number of the number of devotees that you get is could be Shirdi, which is just 110 kilometers. So there are so many such places that become very important. So let us start with Pitalkhora. Pitalkhora, 2nd century BC to 1st century CE.
Sure.
And
sure.
so, when you talk about Pitalkhora is very interesting because people very rarely talk about the trade routes that are important for these places. You know, some of the FAQs that I have is why is Ajanta where it is? Why Ellora is where it is? So these both these are on the trade routes, and trade routes are very important. And so the old trade route was actually people did not use the sea route so much. So when you talk about trade route, people talk about Silk Route, but it's there is a trade route that goes from Mediterranean to China. But people forget one of the important place in a place called Samarkand in Uzbekistan. From it takes from there it takes a right turn, goes to from it does the goes to the what do you call it it goes to Balkh, Kabul, Peshawar, Lahore, and then you go to Ujjaini, then go to Ajanta, and then go down to south, and then you go right up to Sri Lanka via Kanchipuram. Now that is called a classical Sarthavaha Path, or it is also called Dakshin Path. Probably that's where the word Deccan also comes about. Now again, so that was the old route where trade would take a long term and it would be very expensive. But around Jesus Christ's time, a Greek named, according to Western historians, a Greek named Hippalus, he actually publicized a new route that would come to India. So when you the most important city those days would be Alexandria. Okay, Alexandria. So Alexandria is on the was there are many Alexandrias, but the place that I'm talking about on the mouth of Nile and on the Mediterranean Sea, Alexandria was there, and Greeks and everybody would land there. That would be one of the most important ports, also the cosmopolitan city of that time. Then you would actually go by land route, and land route you go to a place called Bernike on the Red Sea, and from there you take sailing ships. Last stop would be Aden in Yemen, and from 2-3 weeks probably you would land on the west coast of India. And the interesting part would be the most important part from our perspective would be what many South Mumbai people look down upon, the so-called Nala Sopara, Shurparak. People don't realize that there is a dock there, and probably the biggest stupa in Maharashtra, the stupa base, is there in Nala Sopara. And the relics that were found, not Buddha's relics, but other relics that are the pot relics that were found, are there in Asiatic Society in Mumbai. I don't know why they don't show it anytime. I had requested them to show at least once a year the relics that have been found in Shurparak. And because of Shurparak, you have Kaneri. From Kaneri, you would go to an ancient place called Thanak, today called Thane. Then you would go to an ancient port for the small ships that would be Kalyan, today even that is called Kailan. From there, actually, you would go to Nasik. From Nasik, you go to Pitalkhora, and that's where Pitalkhora comes in important. And from Pitalkhora, you would go to Ellora, and from Ellora, you'd again go to Python and join the other route. And so this is just one of the routes. Not that this was the only route. This is one of the routes that was there, and that is the reason you will see when you go to Ellora, Ellora is 4 times as big as Ajanta, because that also reflects upon the economic prosperity that they had at that time. And so Pitalkhora is actually there's a bit of a climb down to Pitalkhora, little more than Ajanta, but it's a beautiful place because it's in the forested place, and it suffers from the I wouldn't say suffer actually. I'm really in a way happy because you will see that here there are some paintings that are seen which are absolutely amazing. Unfortunately, those are faded and they're not really very well kept. I've seen students coming there and playing ball on the paintings of the Ajanta. I actually tried to stop them at Pitalkhora. And so it's a beautiful place, protected forest. People into meditation should go there, and it's just 50 kilometers from Ellora. So Pitalkhora is one thing. Then second thing is Bibi Ka Maqbara. Many times when you talk about Bibi Ka Maqbara, the most important misunderstanding that people have is Bibi means, some people say wife, but no, Bibi is not wife. Bibi means a mother or respectable motherly figure. And so BV is wife, double B is respectable motherly figure. And this was made for her. And this lady was Aurangzeb's wife, but this was not made by Aurangzeb's wife, Aurangzeb for his wife, but it was made by her son apparently. Official version. There are many different controversies, but I'll not get into the controversies. When you come here, maybe we can discuss debate all those controversies. But it was made by Azam Shah, Aurangzeb's son, in the memory of his mother. So now, many times it's relatively small, but it's not that small. It's still more than 50% of Taj. And because you have less than 2% budget, a lot of compromises have been made. So marble quality is not as great as your. Yeah, the Hippolytus part is true. That's the reason I clearly said it is actually the Western thing. Indians actually, some people have said the word somebody named Mehta also. Okay, so I'm not going to that. I'm just telling you what Western people say. Okay, and so coming back to her, so Azam Shah is supposed to have made it with a 2% budget. So since your budget is low, you don't use too much of a marble, and whatever marble that is used is also basic quality, and only used at the domes and where lady is buried. Rest of it is all lime stucco, but they have done very innovative things in lime stucco work also, because in order to get the shine, some of the last layers of some lime stucco work was they used shell powder and literally burnished it like mirror polish. So it's very nice. So whenever it is protected, it's nice. And so many compromises have been made. So there are many differences which I'm not going to talk to you about, but this is also an interesting thing. But apart from that, one thing I forgot to mention is actually Aurangabad city itself has got some water mill, but unfortunately they work only in the it works only in the monsoon season, because people have broken the ancient pipelines that are supplying water to Aurangabad. Actually, not really that ancient, 17th century, 18th century, and so the Jhopatpattis are taking the water out of it, so you don't have much water. But during the monsoon season, it actually works. It's called Panchakki. Uh, Chakki per se, Panchakki is not really that great, because water falling on a turbine and fins moving and doing all that is not really something great technology. But how to get water from 6 kilometers away and how to adjust the slope, I'm not going to get into the details of the engineering aspect, because it's an amazing thing to be able to judge that kind of slope and carry out till such a long place. Aurangabad had 14 aqueducts, and so you have that. And then you have religious places. Shirdi is very important. Ellora itself will have, as somebody pointed out, which I missed out, is Krishneshwar, the 12th Jyotirling, and that was made by what do you call it? Your Punya Shlok Ahilya Devi Holkar. We all never call her Ahilya Holkar. She's Punya Shlok Ahilya Devi Holkar. So these are some of the places. Apart from that, actually, Kaigao Toka is a place where you have some of the temples made by Peshwas also, which is relatively contemporary, 18th century and all. So that is how you will find that if you come to Aurangabad, there are so many other places. Aurangabad caves is also something that I have not talked to you about, because that's the only place. One of the caves in Aurangabad caves is the only place where we see in this area the Jataka story in sculpture. Okay, and the biggest Avalokiteshvara is also there in Aurangabad caves. And most interesting site is uh, it creates a lot of controversy, because there is one cave in Aurangabad caves. We have Ganesh and Buddha sitting besides each other. It's a small cave, but it's an interesting thing that has actually happened. So because I am simply remembered of Thailand. Thailand, it's a Buddhist country, but if you go to Thailand, you'll see Ganesha is probably the second most important deity there. And so that is how we have that also being done. Now, Lonar, Lonar, if you want to go to Lonar, it's about 1.5 kilometers away. And so you actually you have to climb down a lot. So it's earlier there was a controversy whether it is a volcanic crater or is it a meteorite crater. So now that has been settled because of a couple of things that have been found. They found a mineral called mescalite. Now when volcano eruption happens, it actually things go out actually in the form of lava and stuff like that, right? But here you will see that the nature of the quartz has changed because of the impact. The high pressure, it's changed, and it found a mineral called mescalite. So I have a couple of pieces which I have collected when I was roaming around all around the crater. Now the crater also houses few leopards and the babies. So sometimes people are not very happy to go down there, wondering whether something will happen, untoward will happen. So these are the some of the things. So Shirdi, of course, is there. Sai Baba is there. After, especially after Satya Sai Baba died, Shirdi started getting a lot of footsteps. Earlier, there was when I used to go very early in the when I was young. Actually, there were hardly any people, but now it is very one of the most important places. So near Ajanta, also, there are some caves which I have not taken any of my tourists there. That is called Ghatotkach caves. But what happens is that in the shadow of Ajanta and Ellora, all these places are not really appreciated. Near again Ajanta, while going to Ajanta, 10 kilometers off the road, there is also a beautiful 13th century temple called Anva. And it's unfortunately in the dilapidated state. It's under state archaeology, not under central department. So this is some of the things that I just wanted to share with you. So if there is any question, I will be most happy to answer. Or if you have some particular, if something you feel that I have missed something, and if you want me to talk about that, we can do that also. So I'm not talking.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you, Amod. I probably will begin with my question first from my end, and then I will get on to some of the comments which are also mentioned in the chat box. So if you could maybe you know throw some light on your observations on the caves in Aurangabad and the kind of caves that exist in Mumbai through the Kanheri and the commonalities, and how do you see this particular linkage and how different are they from historical and other perspectives? So that would be interesting, and not just maybe Mumbai. I ask Mumbai because Khaki does a lot of walks and talks around Mumbai.
Yeah.
However, it would be great to see your perspective on the history around caves in Aurangabad vis-a-vis some of the other areas, including Mumbai.
See, Maharashtra itself has got 1,200 caves, and many times people ask me that why are there so many caves? There are so many caves. First of all, these are not caves. Caves are natural caverns in the rock. These are rock cut temples or rock cut monuments. Another misunderstanding is that monks of that particular religion, for example, Buddhist made Buddhist, Hindu made Hindu, Jain made Jain. No, that's not true. That's what I believe. That's my personal belief is that they were professionals, and professional would be hired by the sponsors, and sponsor would actually tell them what to do, and sometimes where to do also, because you would like to be this thing, what do you call it, you have to be there. And Kanheri, again, you will find mention of a person coming from Pratishthan and sponsoring. The ancient name of Spaitan was Pratishthan. So sponsoring, this sponsorship was always being actually going there. Now, Kanheri, again, there is cave number 41, if I'm not wrong, where you have some benches. Probably, please correct me if I'm wrong. Okay, there are benches, and similar benches are there in cave number 5 in Ellora. So that is again one of the some of the common aspects. Again, the quality of rock in Kanheri is really not that great. The quality of rock is absolutely terrible. For example, but comparatively, you will see Ajanta Ellora has the best quality, and hence you see maximum work and best preserved work. Even Pital Khora is actually slightly crumbly rock. So you people actually what actually goes the about it actually gets lost. Uh, when you talk about so the trade route actually, you you can see the caves are there at Nasik also. So these will have some common points, but the Nahapana and all those inscriptions that are in Nasik, you will find here there are totally different dynasties that were actually working here. So you need to make a difference between Aparant and when we are talking about Ajanta and Ellora and all these areas, we are talking about Ashmak area. So there is going to be a difference in slight difference in slides styles also, of course, because the columns that you see in the stupa in the chaityas of Kaneri, you will see they will have a different what do you call it? So it's got a kalash type design, and whereas here we don't have that. We have squares or octagons, or depending on your sponsorship, the number of designs will go on increasing. And Bhaja is, of course, the oldest. Ajanta is a little less old. I mean, it's later than Bhaja. So that area would have a continuity of the flow going towards. And by the way, one of the most important thing that we people don't go and is very interesting, because I'm sure somebody must have heard about the Pompeii Lakshmi. And then if you have heard about Pompeii Lakshmi, they found how you will find that your that ivory statue was found in Pompeii, and hence they called it Pompeii Lakshmi. But it's not a Lakshmi; it's a Yakshi probably, and that comes from a place that is attributed to come from the place called Ter, which is Tagar, which is 250 kilometers from Aurangabad. They have found many stupas while people were actually farming and doing that, and that place there is a Ramlingappa Lamture Museum, which has got so many things that are they have kept there. So that also, see, world was not as isolated as we think it was. But not only Indians were connected to each other, but people from outside the world also you will see being connecting each other this place, because as I told you, not only the Python things is mentioned, but you will see the art that we see Mahayanic time. When you talk about so-called Mahayanic time, that actually many times some people try to attribute it to Gandhara style, which actually is Indo-Greek. And you can, when you come to Ajanta and Ellora, you're going to see a lot of Greek influences or Greek designs that are incorporated, telling you world was not as. By the way, also I would like to mention that there were the people who brought Buddhism in this area, Maharashtra, Aparant, as well as this area, would be sent by Ashoka, and those two were Greeks, Dhammarakkhit and Mahadhammarakkhit. So which is a very interesting thing, and so you will see a lot of influences across the place.
Great. So let me get on to the comments and questions one by one from the participants. Captain Mohan Narayanan mentions one of the biggest canards of maritime history is that Hippolus discovered the monsoon winds.
I agree with him.
Yeah, Asian mariners in the Indian Ocean not only knew about the monsoon winds, but even used it to trade in the IOR long before the Greeks and other
That
Europeans used it.
that is absolutely, I totally agree with him. It's just that I said Europeans say that, and
Mm.
especially now that they have found some Sanskrit text under the Isis temple in in Ethiopia, that actually buttresses that. I totally agree with him.
Jyoti Kerkar mentions we have one of the Jyotirlinga, which I think you also touched upon, Grineshwar too.
Yeah,
Any further anecdotes or stories around this particular aspect, which is fascinating?
yeah. Yeah, actually, basically, Grushneshwar is now the 12th Jyotirling, but the temple was last time renovated by Punya Shlok Ahilya Devi Holkar. So most of it, what you see today, is 18th century. Now there is a story for every Jyotirling. So also here, there is a story of a Brahmin, and who had he had a wife, and they didn't have a children. So the wife actually asked him to marry his younger sister, her younger sister, so that she might get some child. And so then basically, but then he said that if she has a child, you will be jealous. So she says, no, 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 please go ahead. And they have a child ultimately with the he has a child with the younger sister. And then the elder sister is very unhappy, and the younger sister is a great devotee of Shiva. Every day her routine was to go to the lake nearby and make 1,000 Shivalingams and come back and do her things. Otherwise, before that, she wouldn't do anything. And so once she is about to leave, so somebody tells her that, your what do you call it? He she actually your son has been killed by your elder sister, and so don't go for the puja, take care of that. She says, that's not my problem, it's Shiva's problem. If Shiva's child, Shiva has taken it away, I cannot do anything about it. So she goes ahead and goes to does the puja and come back, and lo and behold, the son is alive and she comes back. So this is one of some of the miracles that are associated. It is associated with almost all the Jyotirling temples.
Thank you. Nilesh mentions Bollywood movies. Gem MS Dhoni was shot in Aurangabad. Um, I personally probably have seen it once. I don't recollect, but any famous recollections of uh, history of Bollywood, so-called Bollywood, Hollywood, and connection
So
with Aurangabad.
the oldest movie that I at least know is Geet Gaya Patharon Ne,
Mm,
that has been shot in Ellora. Okay,
interesting.
then a couple of TV serials such as CID was shot in some here. Then few of the movies, yeah, one Bengali movie, I think, Koilashe Kalankari by Shandip Sen has also been shot there. So once in a while it does happen. Now, one of the the Chinese movie on Shen Chuang or Yuan Sang was also shot there. So few once in a while it happens, but Ellora is not. It although it's very imposing and visually it's absolutely stunning, but it's black and white, so it's not very colorful. So probably that's the reason it is there.
Okay.
Yeah.
The next point is from again from Captain Mohan. Could you tell us something about the Kailasa temple at Ellora?
Oh man, you have to come here. That's. I mean, uh, I don't know. I mean, this is not doable in this. You have to come to Aurangabad. I mean, that's the highlight. I mean, I have no words. You know, no amount of words I'm going to use, no amount of photographs that you're going to see. It is not going to substitute your being there. And that's the reason I always, when I have my guests, I always say, come and experience Ajanta and Ellora. Don't see. And I don't show you anything because you have your own eyes to see these things. I actually try to bring out the nuances which can make the things interesting. So,
So
well,
that's your elevator pitch, Amod, for all of us
I
to
know.
visit Aurangabad. Whoever has not specifically done that as a part of the tour, right?
Okay,
So
I'm
yes.
just going to leave with one thing. Okay, since I have to say something, right? So there's only one place outside India that I know of where, by the way, Kailash is considered to be architecturally, it is called cut out monolith, carved from top to bottom. So, but cutout monolith is the only place outside India that I know of. If the audience can actually add something, I'll be grateful. Outside India, that you have is cutout monolith is there in Ethiopia, and those are called churches of Lalibela. But please remember, the most important difference is the material, because when you talk about Petra, Abu Simbel, Dunhuang, these are all sandstones. And your even this churches of Lalibela, it's not even sandstone. It is actually compressed volcanic ash. And for some reason, that is called tuff, TUFF, which is not really very TOUGH. You can literally scrape it off, I'm told. I've never been outside India there. But Ajanta and Ellora, these are all basaltic rocks. So these are really very tough to uh, emulate. If at all I stretch myself, then I can only bring in Cappadocia in Turkey. But even there, the rock is tough. It is not sedimentary, even not even sedimentary. So you should come to Ellora.
Okay, I'm sure Captain Mohan, has received that message, and others as well, participants. So, uh, I there's no name here, but I think one of the participants would like to know if you organize the tours, would like to have the details. So, uh, uh, if you can put it on the chat box here as to what would be the mode to reach out to you for these, that's something that participants can take away then as a part of this question.
I do theme based tours. Sometimes I do purely cave tours right from Mumbai, and we purely Buddhist tours. I do that once in a. But then people usually arrange the tours and ask me to join there as a guide and guide the whole thing. And of course, if if anybody needs any help, of course I'll be able to do that. But I'm not a travel agent as such. But I can help you out if you can't find a satisfactory solution. But I usually am a tour guide, and so I will be explaining and answering the questions and doing that sort of things. And what was the other thing?
No, so this was one. So if you can drop in your contact details, email, who
I don't.
people can reach out, I will pass it on to for them. I'll definitely
I
have that at with my team as well, for sure.
don't
The
know how
next,
to. Yeah, I don't
yeah,
know how to do that.
no
Probably
worries.
because
We'll
I'll give
email
you
the
my telephone
participants.
number if you want. It's a
Yeah, yeah,
WhatsApp number. That's all.
sure,
That's the best I can do.
sure. I'll get on to the next one. This is from Jyoti again. Pital Khora was made by whom? Um, and
So
Amod, you mentioned trade. What trade was done then?
see, whatever I'm going to tell you, please remember, I'm a blind man trying to show you an elephant. I need you to understand that very clearly. Those of you who do not know this question, the story of blind man and elephant, I'll just give you short. Uh, Blind men were called and told to describe an elephant. And first, blind man said that the elephant is exactly like a rope because he has touched the tail. Two of them come and say you're wrong. Elephant is very hard and pointed because they had touched the tusk. Four of them come and say elephant is exactly like a palm tree. And so, if you really look at it, none of the blind men were lying, but none of them knew the whole truth. They are showing a part of the truth. So I am one of those blind men. So when I am saying something, please remember that there are going to be so many things way more than what I am trying to show you. Okay. And so we're talking about
Pital Khora was made
Pital
by whom?
Pital
And
Khora is, we can only say that there are multiple sponsors. Just as in Karla caves, you got 26 sponsors, if I'm not wrong. Okay, so similarly, Pidal Khora also, you got multiple sponsors doing different things. Sometimes you have sponsor, just like in what do you call it, Karla. Yeah.
Karla.
So Karla, there is one sponsor who would sponsor only a column, and his name would be also there. So similarly, different places people have come from different places and sponsored. So Python is there. So many other places are also mentioned, and uh, I have not come across the name of any Greek. Where you come across names of Greek in the places like Karla.
Great. Next question by Kamalika, and even this is something that I had. If it wouldn't have come, I would have asked this question. Is there any book which explains the origin and history of the caves? Any recommendation?
Actually, there are many people have written a lot of stuff. But first of all, as I told you, the oldest caves that we know, I mean, see, the caves is again a misnomer because these are not caves. Caves are natural caverns in the rock. These are all man made. So the correct terminology is rock cut temples or rock cut monuments. In this case, what happens is that if you want to talk about Aurangabad, India, I will only talk about India because I will not try to go beyond that because monolithic architecture is not that easily available. Especially the cut out monolith, you don't see so much before anywhere. I don't know of any other place which is a cut out monolith before India. But cut in monolith, yes, Abu Simbel is there. Petra in Jordan is there, and then you have Dunhuang, which is not before Ajanta, but it's actually comparable to Ellora to some extent towards the last part of Ellora. And so, oldest caves in India are not Buddhist, nor Hindu, nor Jain. And interestingly, they belong to a sect which is now extinct, which is called Ajivika sect. If you happen to go to Gaya, Bodh Gaya in Bihar, 60 kilometers away from there are Barabar hills. And in this, there are some caves which are they're actually in granite, which is even harder than basalt. And so those have been excavated around Ashokan time, and those were sponsored for Ajivika sect. By the way,
So,
I'm just going to leave you with one sentence that during
yeah,
Buddha's time or Mahavir's time, there are 363 major philosophical schools with large followings. So that was just one of those
okay.
schools.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, just to go back to the original question, in case you do later on, are recommending any book, please do pass on to us. We will pass it on to Kamalika and other participants that this is something that they could read. So,
From the
um,
architecture perspective,
no, specifically for explaining the origin and history of this place. So,
I'm sorry. I mean, I only have the texts that are saying Western cave temples of Ellora, of India, West India, and stuff like that.
okay,
Origin something that I don't know.
okay. Next one is from Captain Mohan again. How did the weaving industry of Python become so famous? Was the silk procured indigenously or procured from elsewhere? Were the weavers
Yes.
locals or got in from other regions?
So weavers probably would be locals, because when you go to Python, there are actually, even today, there are certain lanes that are known after that. They used to do only one thing. There is called Zari lane. So that used to make only Zari. And then there would be coloring, the coloring lane. So that would do only coloring. And so silk was there in India. I mean, it's not necessarily it always was from China, but we had some local silks probably. But right now we get it from Bangalore, the mulberry silk.
Okay.
But rough silks are also there in India.
Okay. The next one is from Nadeem Khan. Aurangabad also has 52 gates across the city.
Yeah, it
Can
had 52 gates.
can you elaborate
Unfortunately,
a
only
bit?
13 survived. Only 13 survived.
13. Okay.
And actually, I was there in a candle march actually to save the 14th gate, but they destroyed through the night to widen the road.
Buddhists were very trade dominant. Uh, is it true that they invited Muslim traders to enter India in large numbers for reducing Hindus' importance? Is a question by Vinita Thosar.
I am not very sure of that aspect. So, how Buddhism would spread, if you really look at it, is Buddhist monks would travel with the traders so that they can actually make their living. And while they're traveling, they would actually also give knowledge about Buddha and all those things. And so that is how you would have that. Of course, see what happens is that later on, Buddhist monasteries started getting a lot of money, and many times they were not able to consume that kind of money. And so, in order to, and many times people would give endowments, in the sense they would be invested in the traders. Okay, they would be invested in the traders because, for example, traders are going from one place to another. Actually, Indian traders were actually going all over the known world at that time, Asia, Africa, and all those places. And so there would be sponsors who will be saying, investing the money. And so whatever returns they give, so they would actually get it. And then they would again put their own money and write their name. So that's the reason. If you look at the monolithic architecture of Maharashtra, 1200 caves, the epigraphical evidence, you will see 37% of the sponsorship comes from traders. 27 comes from the nobility and royalty, and rest of it is from the guilds and your individuals.
The next one are a couple of comments. Jyoti again, has mentioned uh, how interesting I believe it is with respect to some of the stories that and anecdotes you shared earlier. Then Nadeem again mentions also Ellora has the Kailasa temple, which we spoke about. Fascinating piece of art that can be interesting to describe. Um, Jyoti has a question. What is the famous food item?
So it depends on if you are vegetarian and non-vegetarian. From non-vegetarian perspective, see, remember before Hyderabad, Aurangabad was the capital, and Hyderabad became capital after the Nizam shifted the capital from Aurangabad to Hyderabad. And so we have a lot of common cuisine with Hyderabad. And the most famous non-vegetarian food that is in Aurangabad is naan khalia.
Hmm.
I think
That's what
Nadeem
Nil
Khan maybe, yeah,
Yeah, I think that's what Nilesh has mentioned in the comment,
yeah.
naan khalia for non-veg
Naan
lovers.
khalia is the most popular. For vegetarian things, it's a regular thing, but there are some famous eateries and all those things are there. So those are there, of course.
And for a vegetarian like me, when you say khalia, uh it's
It's
mut
mutton
mutton.
usually.
Yeah.
Mutton,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah. That's what
Naan
I
is the
thought.
better.
I just wanted to
Yeah.
confirm if khalia stands for mutton.
I mean,
Okay.
if somebody wants, you can make khalia with paneer also.
Then again, non-vegetarians would say that it's like a biryani, so which is no, not a dish. So
In fact, in Aurangabad, that's actually one of the things. A lot of people like biryani, but they don't like to have non-vegetarian. So there is a famous biryani in Aurangabad called Mustafa's biryani,
Mhm.
and so Mustafa's biryani, they now have started making the same masala and with paneer in it.
Okay. Vinita Thosar again, has mentioned about is sort of confirming to your point earlier on Ethiopia churches. Um, and yeah, we have Jyoti again, acknowledging very good, very nice talk. Then we have a question from Vinita, and maybe I'll try to get that. I'm not able to really understand, but um, KL Bamiyan statues, Afghanistan, northwestern areas at Pakistan, old days. So, Vinita, if you can elaborate on your, is that a question? Okay, my point about Buddhist trade route, Silk Route trading. Okay, I think it was a point that she was making rather than a question, is what I believe. Vinita, is that correct? Ah, okay. Her mic is not working. So, uh, yes, yes, that was the point that she was making. Okay, great. I think I pretty much covered most of the points and questions. And we are 7:05. So maybe we could just close it, Amod, with anything that you would want to mention. From my side, thank you to all the participants. Wonderful to see your participation and curiosity and questions, Amod. And personally for me, it would be further fascinating to see certain visuals, some monuments that you're describing. The next time we have a conversation and a talk for us to have a look. But any closing remarks from your end, Amod?
For example, I'll just before I sign off, I've sent you a few pictures of Pital Khora. One Pital Khora where you have a lady's coiffure. If you look at those coiffure and if you look at those ladies' eyebrows, you'll see they are exactly like today's. Very thin eyebrows that you will actually have that, and so that is there. And if you want my WhatsApp number, I'll just, if you could just put it in the chat box if
Yep,
somebody wants to get in touch with me.
sure.
949422 10571. So this is my WhatsApp number also. So if you want to ask any questions, I'll be most happy to answer. Okay, but try to avoid weekends and Diwali.
Okay. Okay. I hope, everyone had a great time on a Saturday evening. Enjoy the rest of your evening and night, and looking forward for the participation for our next talk. Thank you, Amod. Thank you very much.